Ever wished you could just flip a switch and instantly be focused, like boom, you're in the zone?
It'd be pretty handy, wouldn't it?
Yeah, totally.
Uh-huh.
Well, today we're diving into something that might just be the next best thing. Brainwave entrainment.
Ah, yes. Using sound to influence your brainwaves. It's a fascinating field.
It really is. We've got some incredible research articles lined up, some expert insights, and even a glimpse into some cutting-edge tech that's pushing the boundaries of what's possible.
I think listeners are going to be surprised by how much we've learned about the brain in just the last few years.
For sure. So get ready to discover how you can potentially harness the power of sound for enhanced clarity, reduced stress, maybe even a better night's sleep.
All that from just listening to sounds. Sign me up.
Right. Let's start with the basics. What exactly are brainwaves?
So our brains are constantly generating these electrical impulses, right? And these impulses create these rhythmic patterns that we call brainwaves.
Okay, so it's like our brains are always humming along to some kind of internal tune.
Exactly. And the cool thing is that these brainwaves change depending on what we're doing, how we're feeling. You know what our mental state is.
So like if I'm feeling stressed and overwhelmed, my brainwaves are going to look different than if I'm feeling relaxed and creative.
Exactly. You got it. Different brainwave frequencies measured in hertz correspond to different mental states.
Okay, break that down for me. What are these different brainwave frequencies and what do they mean?
Sure. So let's start with delta waves. These are the slowest brainwaves, and they show up when we're in deep sleep.
Ah, that makes sense. So when we're out like a light, our brains are chugging along at a super slow pace.
Exactly. Then we have theta waves. These are a bit faster than delta, and they're associated with states of deep relaxation, meditation, creativity even.
Interesting. So that's what's happening in my brain when I'm lost in thought or having a sudden burst of inspiration.
Could be. Then as we move up the frequency ladder, we have alpha waves. These are associated with a state of relaxed alertness, like when you're daydreaming or just feeling calm and peaceful.
So it's like that feeling of being in the flow, but not quite asleep.
Exactly. And then we have beta waves. These are the fast-paced waves that dominate when we're awake and alert, focused on tasks, making decisions, all that good stuff.
So when I'm firing on all cylinders and my to-do list is a mile long, that's my brain in beta mode.
Pretty much. And finally, we have gamma waves, the fastest of the bunch. They're associated with high-level cognitive processing, peak mental states, even moments of insight and deep understanding.
Gamma waves? Those sound pretty powerful.
They are. And even experienced meditators don't typically generate that much gamma activity. It's fascinating stuff.
So we've got these different brainwave frequencies, each linked to a different mental state. It's like our brains have different gears for different tasks.
I like that analogy. It's a great way to think about it.
So how does brainwave entrainment fit into all of this? Like, how do we actually use sound to shift gears?
That's where it gets really interesting. Brainwave entrainment is based on this principle called the frequency following response.
The frequency following response. Okay, gonna have to explain that.
Basically, it means that our brains have this natural tendency to sync up with external rhythms.
Okay, I think I've experienced that. Like when you're listening to music and you can't help but tap your foot along to the beat?
Exactly. That's your brain syncing up to the rhythm of the music. And brainwave entrainment takes advantage of this natural tendency by using specific sound frequencies to gently guide your brainwaves into a desired state.
So it's like we're giving our brains a little nudge in the right direction using sound.
Precisely. And there are different techniques used in brainwave entrainment, but one of the most common is binaural beats.
Binaural beats. I've heard of those, but I'm not entirely sure how they work.
So with binaural beats, you listen to two slightly different tones, one in each ear.
Okay, what does that do?
Because the tones are slightly different, your brain perceives a third beat that's not actually there. It's like an auditory illusion. And this third beat that your brain creates is the binaural beat. And that's the frequency your brain tries to match.
So it's like our brains are doing a little math problem to figure out the difference between the two tones. And the answer to that math problem becomes the brainwave frequency it tries to sync up with.
That's a great way to put it. And because you need each ear to receive a distinct sound frequency, headphones are essential for binaural beats.
Makes sense. So I put on my headphones, listen to these binaural beats, and my brain starts to follow along, shifting into a different rhythm.
Exactly. And it's not just some new age theory. There's actually quite a bit of research to support the effectiveness of brainwave entrainment.
Oh, really? Like what kind of research?
Well, there is a study where researchers used brainwave entrainment to enhance theta waves. Remember, those are the waves associated with relaxation and creativity.
Yep.
And they found that people who underwent this theta wave entrainment actually performed better on memory tests.
Wow, so it's not just about feeling relaxed, it's actually having a measurable impact on cognitive function.
Precisely. And get this, there's research with Tibetan monks who are hooked up to EEG machines while meditating.
Tibetan monks meditating with EEGs. That sounds intense.
It was. And the readings showed they were producing massive amounts of gamma waves, those super high frequency waves associated with peak mental states.
So these monks, through years of meditation, had trained their brains to produce these incredible levels of gamma activity.
It's pretty amazing, right? It really highlights the incredible power of the brain and its ability to shift into these extraordinary states.
So what you're saying is that brainwave entrainment could potentially help us access these higher levels of brain function. Like if monks can do it through years of meditation, maybe we can get a little boost with the help of some strategically chosen sounds.
It's a fascinating possibility, and it's not entirely new either. Ancient cultures have been using rhythmic drumming and chanting for centuries to induce altered states of consciousness.
Right, like shamans using drums to enter trance states.
Exactly. And when researchers measured the frequencies of those shamanic drums, guess what? They were often right in the theta range, similar to the frequencies used in modern brainwave entrainment for relaxation and creativity.
So it's like these ancient practices might have been tapping into the same brainwave principles we're exploring today, just without all the fancy technology.
It's incredible to think about, right? We're rediscovering ancient wisdom through the lens of modern science.
It makes you wonder what else we can learn from these ancient traditions. Okay, so we've talked about brainwaves and entrainment, and even some fascinating research with monks and shamans. But let's bring it back to our everyday lives. What are the potential benefits that someone like me who's not a monk or a shaman could experience?
Well, for starters, many people use brainwave entrainment to enhance focus and mental clarity. Imagine being able to quiet those distracting thoughts and really zero in on what you're doing.
Oh man, that would be a game changer, especially these days. Like we're bombarded with information from every direction. It's hard to stay focused.
I hear you. And that's where brainwave entrainment can really shine. It's like giving your brain that extra edge it needs to cut through the noise and stay on track.
So it's not just about feeling more focused. It's about actually improving my ability to concentrate and get things done.
Exactly. And there's research to back that up. Studies have shown that brainwave entrainment can improve attention span, reduce distractibility, and even boost performance on tasks that require sustained focus.
So like if I'm writing a report or studying for an exam, brainwave entrainment could help me stay focused and absorb the information more effectively.
Exactly. It's like giving your brain a little workout, helping it become more efficient and resilient.
Okay, I'm liking this more and more. But what about stress? I feel like I'm constantly battling stress. These days, it's just part of life.
I think a lot of people can relate to that. And that's another area where brainwave entrainment can be incredibly helpful. It's like having a built-in stress reliever right there in your headphones.
Really? How does that work?
Well, remember how we talked about different brainwave frequencies being associated with different mental states?
Yeah.
When you're stressed, your brain is dominated by those fast-paced beta waves. But by using brainwave entrainment to shift your brain into the slower alpha or even theta range, you're essentially telling your body to chill out.
It's like shifting gears from overdrive to cruise control.
A perfect analogy. And as your brain slows down, your heart rate and breathing naturally follow suit, you start to feel more relaxed and centered.
Wow, that sounds amazing. And I've also heard that brainwave entrainment can help with sleep. Is that true?
Absolutely. Sleep problems are incredibly common, but brainwave entrainment can be a fantastic natural way to improve sleep quality.
I'm all ears. Tell me more.
By targeting those delta waves, the ones associated with deep sleep brainwave entrainment can help you fall asleep faster, stay asleep longer, and wake up feeling more rested and refreshed.
It's like a lullaby for your brain, gently coaxing it into dreamland.
Exactly. And it's not just about quantity, it's about quality. Brainwave entrainment can help you get the deep restorative sleep that's so crucial for physical and mental recovery.
Okay, this is all sounding really good.
Yeah.
But I have to ask, are there any downsides or risks to consider?
It's a good question, and it's always smart to be cautious when trying new things. Brainwave entrainment is generally considered safe for most people, but there are a few exceptions.
Oh.
People with epilepsy or a history of seizures should generally avoid brainwave entrainment, as certain types of sound or light stimulation could potentially trigger a seizure.
Right, that makes sense.
And of course, if you have any pre-existing medical conditions or you're taking medications, it's always a good idea to talk to your doctor before trying brainwave entrainment.
Good advice. It's better to err on the side of caution.
Exactly. But for the vast majority of people, brainwave entrainment is a safe and effective tool for enhancing well-being.
So it's like adding another tool to my self-care toolkit.
I like that analogy. And speaking of tools, remember we mentioned primordial sounds earlier?
Oh yeah, those sounds that tap into our deep subconscious responses.
Exactly, like the sounds a baby hears in the womb.
The heartbeat, the whooshing of blood. It's amazing to think that those sounds could still have an impact on us as adults.
It really is. And some researchers believe that those sounds are so fundamental to our early development that they become embedded in our subconscious, influencing our sense of safety and well-being throughout our lives.
Fascinating. So how do these primordial sounds relate to brainwave entrainment?
Well, some people incorporate these types of sounds into brainwave entrainment recordings. The idea is that by combining these familiar comforting sounds with specific brainwave frequencies, you can amplify the relaxation response and create an even deeper sense of well-being.
It's like tapping into our primal instincts, using sound to create a sense of peace and security.
Precisely. And it's not just limited to womb sounds. Nature sounds like ocean waves, rainfall. Those can also have a profound effect on our sense of well-being.
I totally get that. There's something so soothing about listening to the sound of rain or the ocean. It's like instant relaxation.
And there's a reason for that. We often associate those sounds with positive experiences. Being in nature, feeling calm and at peace.
Makes sense. So we're not just listening to random sounds, we're tapping into those deep-seated emotional connections that we have with those sounds.
Exactly. It's about using sound in a mindful way to enhance our well-being.
So we've talked about brainwave entrainment for focused stress sleep. And we've even touched on these fascinating primordial sounds. Pretty amazing stuff. But I'm curious, what's next for this field? What are some of the exciting advancements that are happening right now?
There are some really cool things on the horizon. I think people are going to be blown away by what's coming.
Spill the beans. What kind of advancements are we talking about?
Well, one area that I find super exciting is this whole integration of brainwave entrainment with other wellness technologies. It's like combining the best of both worlds.
Okay, like what kind of technologies?
Well, one example is PEMF therapy.
PEMF therapy. That rings a bell, but to be honest, I don't really know what it is.
So PEMF stands for a pulsed electromagnetic field, and basically it's this non-invasive therapy that uses electromagnetic pulses to stimulate cell repair and just overall improve well-being. It's been used for things like pain relief, reducing inflammation, even boosting energy levels.
Oh, interesting. So how does that tie into brainwave entrainment?
So picture this. You've got the power of sound influencing your brainwaves, and then you combine that with the power of electromagnetic fields supporting your cells at the deep level.
Okay, I'm starting to see this synergy here.
Uh-huh.
It's like a double whammy of wellness.
Yeah, exactly. And there are these devices now that combine both technologies. So you wear headphones for the brainwave entrainment, but these headphones have built-in PEMF coils that deliver those electromagnetic pulses right to your head.
Wow, so it's like a high-tech spa treatment for your brain and body.
I like that analogy. And then another really interesting development is in the area of wearable brainwave entrainment devices.
Wearables, like smartwatches and stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We're starting to see these devices that you can wear on your wrist or as a headband that have brainwave entrainment technology built right in.
So instead of having to listen to recordings through headphones, these devices would be sending those frequencies directly to our brains.
That's the idea. And what's even cooler is that some of these wearables can actually monitor your brain activity in real time and then adjust the frequencies based on what your brain needs in that moment.
Wow. So it's like personalized brainwave entrainment on demand.
Precisely. It's like having a personal DJ for your brainwaves, keeping everything in sync and optimized.
This is all so futuristic.
Yeah.
I love it. But before we get too carried away, let's bring it back down to earth. For someone listening to this who's thinking, okay, this sounds amazing, I want to try it. What's the best way to get started with brainwave entrainment?
Well, the good news is you don't need any fancy equipment or a big budget to give it a try. There are tons of brainwave entrainment recordings available online. Many of them are free or super low cost.
Oh, perfect. So I can just search brainwave entrainment on YouTube or Spotify and see what I find.
Yeah, exactly. You can totally do that. Just make sure you're choosing recordings from reputable sources. Look for people who specialize in brainwave entrainment and who clearly state the frequencies they're using.
Got it. So I find a recording, I put on my headphones, and then what? Just lie back and let the sounds work their magic.
Pretty much. You can keep it that simple. If you want to enhance the experience even more, find a quiet space where you can relax without distractions, dim the lights, maybe light some candles, and just let yourself drift away with the sounds.
That sounds pretty relaxing. It's almost like a meditation practice.
It can be very meditative. And, Brainwave entrainment can actually be a great complement to an existing meditation practice. Or if you're new to meditation, it can be a nice way to ease into it.
I like it. I'm definitely gonna have to give this a try. What if I don't feel anything the first time I try it, though? Should I be worried?
Not at all. It's totally normal if you don't have some kind of mind-blowing experience right away. For a lot of people, it's a more subtle shift. You might just notice a feeling of calmness washing over you, or maybe your thoughts feel a little less cluttered.
So it's more about paying attention to those subtle shifts in my mental state, rather than expecting some big dramatic change.
Exactly. And like with anything, consistency is key. The more you use brainwave entrainment, the more your brain becomes attuned to those frequencies, and the more likely you are to experience the benefits.
This has been so fascinating. I feel like we've barely scratched the surface of this whole world of brainwave entrainment.
I know, right? There's so much to explore, but hopefully this deep dive has sparked your curiosity and given you a good starting point for your own explorations.
For sure. It definitely has for me. I can't wait to see what the future holds for this field. It feels like we're on the verge of some really groundbreaking discoveries.
I think so too. We're just beginning to understand the incredible power of sound and its ability to shape our minds and our well-being.
It's pretty amazing to think about. And for our listeners out there, we encourage you to keep exploring, keep questioning, keep those brainwaves humming, because the future of mental wellness is in your hands. And it sounds pretty amazing, don't you think?
I couldn't agree more.
Well, that wraps up another deep dive. Until next time, keep those brains buzzing with curiosity and wonder.